So today's episode, we're going to be talking about my story. Oh my gosh, my story, where I grew up, the lessons that I've learned from my childhood, the pains I had to conquer, the disappointments, the hurts, the good stuff, the goodness of the Lord, the grace of God. And please don't go anywhere. Stay tuned because you're going to enjoy this. Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ntakwana Matseki, aka Leah Millionaire, and welcome back. For those that are new here, remember to subscribe, to leave a comment, to give a thumbs up if you like the video, which I hope you will. So I grew up with my mom and my dad and my older sister. I have only one sibling. My parents didn't get on to making any other babies, so it was just the two of us girls. My dad was mostly not around because he also worked in SA. He worked in South African mines, and my mom worked for a telecoms company. So way before I was born, my sister stayed with my grandma and not my parents. So when I was born, and I think from when I was 3-4 years old, I got to stay with my grandmother as well. Living with my grandmother was one of the most amazing memories that I have of my childhood. I remember she used to make the best motoho, the best chips. She used to make the best steamed bread. Even today, I have not found anybody that makes steamed bread like my grandma used to make steamed bread. It's amazing that these foods are still one of my favorite food to enjoy. I love steamed bread, although it's not good for me. I love fries, definitely not good for me. I love motoho as well, not good for my belly. My grandmother also used to work. She used to have a couple of jobs. One of her normal ones were going to wash the laundry at different families. And I remember she would take me with her. She used to take me everywhere with her. Whether she went to go and wash somebody's laundry, whether she was going to a church function, whether she was going, Stopong, Kamautu. We used to live in Maseru East, not far from the CBD of Maseru. It's not the CBD. What is it called? Stopong. It's not CBD. But Stopong, we used to walk to go and buy the groceries together. I'd come back walking. I remember all of those experiences that I had with her, and they were one of the most amazing memories that I have up to today. So my grandma used to go to St. John's Church, and we used to stay in the same yard where the church was. So basically what that meant was there was our house, and then there was the church auditorium, if you want to call it that. So during the week, it was a normal house. Kids, my cousins would come over. My sister also used to stay around with us for a week or two, and then she'd go back home. So during the week, it was normal house. On Sunday, it was church, and our main house was the church administration office. So I basically grew up in an environment which was centered around God. I know the doctrine is a bit different from what I follow now, but I'm just amazed at how God's hand was so mighty upon my life. My mom really worked hard. To make sure that my sister and I got, good education. One thing that I really appreciate about my mom is the exposure that she gave me. My mom used to take me to her workplace. That the first time I ever learned about a computer was when I used to go to work with her. The first time I ever learned about the internet was when I went to work with her. And the first time I ever learned about solitaire. Solitaire was like my world when I used to go to her office with her. And on Monday I'd go back to school and say, oh, you guys, I was like, on my solitaire. And everybody would be like, solitaire, what is solitaire? The last Friday of the month we would go, downtown Kingsway, and go and hire 5 video cassettes. Video what? Video cassettes. Are they cassettes or cassettes? I think they're cassettes. Yeah. Anyway, we used to go and hire movies, just to go and watch. When my sister would come home, would go and rent movies out for the weekend. So I was exposed to the Western culture from those movies. I watched a lot of TV. I learned a lot of English from TV. I learned a lot of way of living, different ways of living, different ways of dressing from TV. So I just learned a whole lot of things while living with my mom. She always told me to dream higher than where I come from. I remember I used to say to her and my sister, when I grow up, I want to tower the world. And they burst out laughing, and I was like, wait, why are you all laughing at me? I really do want to tower the world. And my mom looked at my sister, and my sister looked at me and said, girl, it's not tower, okay? It's tour. The word is tour. And I was like, okay, whatever. I want to tour the world. I want to travel. I want to see the world. Exposure is priceless, and that's what my mom, gifted me with. If you can't give your children the most expensive things, give them the gift of exposure, the gift of a different mindset from the environment where they come from, or from the place where they come from. Instill in them a desire to learn and to grow and to be exposed to things and to people that are not familiar, or that are not where they come from. I promise you, when you begin to work on their minds, when you begin to instill, belief and desire for growth, your children will surprise you in the future. If you instill, if you prioritize things like giving them a good education, set them up in sports, set them up in drama, in theater, in music, any other extracurricular activity that you can find. You just never know what your child will stumble into. And they will work hard, and they will always remember the values and the cultures that you have instilled in them. I personally, I am so grateful. My mom taught me tennis. The very first time I loved tennis, we used to play. She used to get rackets, and we would play in the yard. I learned table tennis from her. I learned tennis from her. I learned swimming from her. Well. So 2 things happened before, 3 years before I became a teenager. One of them is that when I was 10 years old, my mom was invited to a church by a friend who they used to party with and used to booze with, and this friend had found Jesus, and she was like, friend, you have to come to my church. And so my mom took my sister and I, and we went to church. So in the midst of all those good things that happened to us, being introduced to an amazing church where my mom and my sister's lives were totally transformed, and where my life was transformed as well. My mom and dad could not, get their issues together. I guess the distance and, the not communicating and whatever happened between the two of them, they decided to get a divorce. My world broke into 1,000 pieces. My dad, was never that much around. But when he came, guys, he would bring snacks, new clothes. He would take me out to town to KFC. I used to love a whole lot of KFC growing up. Things were no longer the same. I guess our financial situation deteriorated, and because now it was my mom and a single mom with a single income, we could no longer hire movies like we used to. We could no longer do all those things that we used to do, because she was paying my sister's school fees, and she was also paying my school fees. This was so hard. Talk about shame after shame, disappointment after disappointment. I used to think I was the only child whose parents were divorced. I promise you, I know that sounds funny, but when I was in primary school, you know, on Mondays when we go to school, you know how children after assembly, there's a little break before you go into classes, and children will be talking about, oh, my mom and my dad did this, oh, my dad bought this for me, my dad, my mom, you know. And I guess I caved under pressure, because for the longest time I could be able to say my dad bought me this, my dad took me to KFC, my mom and dad this, but there was no longer mom and dad in the picture. So I used to lie a lot. I used to come up with stories, manufacture stories about, oh, my dad came this weekend and he took me to KFC and he bought me this and he bought me that. I guess I was trying to fit in. I was trying to, you know, not let the other kids see that my lifestyle, my life had changed, and that my mom and dad were divorced. Because for me, divorce was it came with a lot of shame. It came with a lot of embarrassment. It came with a lot of hurt and pain. And I tried by all means never to talk about it, because I was like, nobody's going to understand. Whose parents have ever divorced if not mine? I am the only one who is going through such a thing. But even then, you know, God was still good. I used to get good grades. I enjoyed school because I passed very well, and I met, you know, amazing friends that, you know, were so much fun that they made me forget about all my troubles at home. So years later, I passed. I went to high school. Okay, so my mom agreed that I go to boarding school, and it was amazing at first. Obviously, you had to be bought snacks and food and whatnot just to make you comfortable, and I was not at home in a very, you know, depressing setup. So I was happy. Little did I know that I had actually introduced myself to a whole lot of pain and chaos. We all know about treatment, as we used to call it in high school, or yes, it usually happens when you go to high school or when you go to boarding school, where the seniors will ask the juniors or the first years or the Form A's or the Form 1s to wash their clothes, polish their shoes. I mean, it was horrible. I was like, what have I gotten myself into? This is not what I was hoping for. It was so bad. The things they used to do to us. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was just not good. And how many people actually know that in an environment of where it's just a whole lot of girls with different backgrounds, different insecurities, different, you know, family setup, different aspirations, just a mixture of girls, you know, all going through whatever, others tend to pull others down, you know, and pull themselves up by being mean and bullying and all sorts of things. And this is what I was exposed to in Form A. I remember we had to do something like Miss Saule. I think it's a tradition. I don't know if it's still there. Please tell me if you're from Lesotho High School in the comments below, if Miss Saule is still there taking place. So Miss Saule boarding took place, and I remember I was excited. I mean, I knew how to move from all the TV and the movies that I used to watch. I thought I got it together. I mean, I knew how to speak English, you know. I mean, I knew how to express myself. I was not a very shy girl. I've never really been shy. So I was very excited. I was like, let's do this. Little did I know that, you know, we're looking for the skinny girl, the girl who, you know, is beautiful, the girl who is smart. You know, you can imagine growing up with a mom who always used to tell you that you're beautiful, you're smart, you don't need to change anything about yourself, to a senior in high school who's going to tell you that, you know, girl, but if you could just lose a little bit of weight, then you'll be perfect. I remember one girl came up to me and said, "Oh, I'm so sad." Okay, eventually I didn't win. Of course, I was not the skinny girl. I was the chubby girl. So I remember this girl coming to me and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry you didn't win. I really liked all, your answers to the questions, but I mean, those words stuck with me. And I remember the body shaming went on and on in our dormitory, even, amongst the Form A's. They used to... It's a joke now, but it was not nice then. They used to say, "Ntagwana, you are so fat that we know it's you who is walking into the room because your stomach walks in first, and there's nobody else whose stomach walks in first except yours." So guys, I was that big. This left me feeling so insecure about myself. I was not confident, about my body. I didn't like the way I looked all of a sudden. I had very low self-esteem. My world was I was just not okay. So when I say the devil has always wanted to kill me, it is no joke. I grew up a very sickly child. My immune system was not very strong. At 11 years old, I was told my blood vessels are not functioning properly and that I would need a major surgery because there seems to be evidence that my heart is not functioning well. It's getting tired, not able to pump enough blood. I don't even remember the whole shebang that was said, but I remember my mom being so depressed, like, what is wrong with this child? So my mom walked into the church service weeping. My mom's name was Pinky, guys. Unalemo Pinky. Like, she was very, very light in complexion. So while the pastor is busy trying to teach the word of God, guys, this woman just burst out crying. She starts getting hysterical and being loud. Now the pastor can't continue to preach until the pastor then decided to say, "Okay, what can I do you for? What's your problem? What's your issue?" And my mom was like, "My child has been diagnosed with the heart disease, and we're told that by next week we need to go to Bloemfontein for her to have surgery, what. And Pastor, shout out to Pastor D. Pastor said, "Okay, what do you have in your bag? What do you have in your hand? Something that we can pray over, a cloth, a sweet, anything that you have in your bag that I can pray over for your child to come in contact with this thing, and we just believe God for healing." So my mom, like myself, had sweets in her bag. There was a green smoothies that she then gave to Pastor. Pastor prayed over it. Long story short, she went home. She gave me the sweet. I don't even remember her explaining to me to say, "Eat this sweet. The pastor has prayed over it. It's a miraculous sweet," or whatever. She just gave me a sweet and she said, "Okay, next week we're going to Bloemfontein, but you're going to be okay." Thank God for mothers that have faith. We get to Bloemfontein. Obviously, the doctors are thinking, "Okay, we need to prepare her for surgery. We're going to keep you in, get you hospitalized for a few days, doing all the paperwork and whatnot." But to their surprise, though, they're like, "Let's do one more, let's do one more test just to make sure that everything is still intact, that the heart has not, deteriorated further, things like that." And to his surprise, the doctor is like, "What happened?" And my mom is like, "What are you talking about?" And the doctor is like, "There's no need to, do any surgery because this heart is functioning well. This heart looks like it's normal. There's no blood flow restriction, nothing." Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh my gosh, I had been healed through a sweet. I had been healed through a sweet, and that is the miraculous power that I saw in my life. From being told that I needed to have major surgery to being told that there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with my heart, I saw the hand of God. God has just God has just always been there for me. So when I was 14 years old, there was a boy introduced in my life, a boy. He was the finest guy in school, well, according to me and my friends. He was cool, he used to love hip-hop, he was like the whole shebang. And I remember one of them saying, girl, you know, so-and-so wants to date you, so-and-so wants to take you out. And I was like, what? No way, guys, no way. Does the coolest guy want to take me out? Anywho, I was all hyped up, like, when are you gonna come? You know, when are we gonna make it official? He eventually did, and he asked me out, and I was so excited. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave high school with a bang, with a record, y'all, that I dated like the coolest guy ever. So in my excitement, I decided to tell like an older sister friend that I had that we used to go to Scripture Union together. So here I am thinking I'm just sharing my news, being excited, and then she's like, you know what? Are you sure this is what God wants? And I'm thinking, what do you mean is this what God wants? I had not even gotten to that point in my life at the time of wondering what God wants and what God doesn't want. I was just glad to live my life like it's golden, you know what I'm saying? Anywho, she then, you know, went on to encourage me to wait and not date while in high school, to honor God with my life, to find a personal relationship with God, and how she thinks, you know, it's not a good idea for someone to be in a relationship if they are not, you know, if they don't have a personal relationship with God by themselves, and if they still have issues to deal with. Because I remember I had told her about my parents' divorce. I told her about some of the things that I had gone through in my life, and she was like, I think you still need to deal with certain issues before you introduce somebody into your life. I was just like, my mood was dampened, because I was like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I was expecting. I remember we took hours having this conversation, and she was literally in tears, saying, please don't do it, you know. And to be honest, I wanted to do it, but at the same time, at the back of my mind, I've always known that, you know, God had called me for something greater than me just being a normal kid, dating, you know, going to parties and having fun and whatnot. And it kind of haunted me, because I had had encounters with him before, you know, in my life, where I would literally hear him calling me and reaching out to me for a personal relationship. So I was in a tight space, but I had to make a decision. I decided not to date him. I was so hurt because I was like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I don't have to prove to her anything. I don't have to do this for her. This is my life, my business. But for some reason, I just felt like, okay, I'm gonna honor God. I'm gonna give him my life. I'm gonna get to know him first before I introduce anybody in my life. And the rest is history. That sister girl who, you know, gave me counsel about that particular relationship, 15 years old, 15 years later, she's now my best friend. And I'm so glad she took the time to give me that counsel and to encourage me, and to, you know, just to make sure that I chose the right thing for my life. Because when I look at my life now, I'm like, had I not listened to her, Jesus, where would I be? Don't despise your story. It doesn't matter. I mean, my story is not, oh, I used to smoke, drink, party, and then Jesus saved me. It was like, no, I was just broken, hurt, confused, not confident, and I met the Lord and he changed my life. Your story could be, yes, I grew up in a beautiful home. My mom and my dad were still around, but then I found myself leading a bad life, drinking, partying, whatever. It doesn't matter. We all have different stories. You may be saying, I didn't even have, my mom didn't want me, I was abandoned, I don't know my mom, I don't know my dad. You know, your story may be, I've been married and now I'm divorced and I don't know who I am anymore besides this person that I was married to. Your story could be like, I experienced teenage pregnancy. I got pregnant at a young age. Now I'm a mom, at a very young age. It doesn't matter what your story is, but as long as you give God your life, as long as you give God your story and you allow him to use it in a way that he wants to use it, then I believe the future is surely good, and you will have an expected end. There is no way that the enemy would put so much effort in trying to take my life if there was nothing special about my life. And my exhortation to you is to own your story. Tell your story. Don't be embarrassed about your story. Some of your greatest testimonies will come from the greatest hurts in your life. You'll always be my nice guy. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching my story. Thank you so much for subscribing, for liking, for commenting. And if you're new to this channel, remember to hit that subscribe button. Yes, do the right thing. Leave a comment, share this video, tell others, tell your sister, to tell your brother, to tell your cousin, to tell your grandma, grandpa, and your babies to come and watch Leah Millionaire. See you next time. You'll always